You know me, SDMT. Big story right here, man. We gotta get to it, man. Emmanuel Sanders and Antonio Brown got smoke, man. They got that smoke, man. Emmanuel Sanders went on NFL Network, and he had a lot to say about Antonio Brown and the Steelers. He also spoke on Big Ben, which we're going to get into later. I want to get into these tweets about both these athletes, Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders. But first, let me talk about what caused this and why, Antonio Brown felt he needs to respond in a tweet, which caused another response from Emmanuel Sanders. Now, Emmanuel Sanders went on NFL Network. He was blaming Antonio Brown, saying, it was 100% his fault. He brought a lot of this on himself. He's disrespected the Steelers franchise and the team, and, he doesn't know how he can leave his brothers out, by not showing up and having his agent call the team when he walked out of practice on Wednesday. And Emmanuel Sanders was really, going hard on Antonio Brown. And I think what he was also doing is he was saying some truth, but he also was saying one side of it. There's a whole nother side to this story. And the question that I beg to offer is, what would lead Antonio Brown to feel that, things had got so bad he had to make these decisions and go against the grain? And that's what I want to get to a little later. But let's get to these tweets from Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders.
He didn't draft me. He drafted Emmanuel Sanders. Same guy who missed rehab to go on networks to talk about me on situation he has zero clue. Arians now wears Kango hats and glasses, but I'm the diva. Done seen it all, and they say they're my friends. Stop lying. AB, you know damn well I didn't travel to LA to talk about you, fam. You tripping, yo. I went to be an analyst in which you acting foolish was a topic, and I gave my analytical opinion. Get off your gas, yo. You did it to yourself.
They was going at it, man, with that Twitter beef right there, man. Emmanuel Sanders did make some points on NFL Network, but also he neglected a lot, and that's what I want to get into. There is a big issue with the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is not a leader. So many times in his career, what has he done when the pressure's been on him? He has deflected the blame to other people. He goes on his radio show, Antonio Brown should have ran a route like this. That's why I threw an interception. Players don't like that, you know what I mean? And it causes that friction where Big Ben is always deflecting blame. We know Tom Brady. Tom Brady's never said, Gronk should have did this. Edelman should have did this. Tom Brady will say, we need to get better. We need to make improvements. He's a leader. He's the consummate leader. Ben Roethlisberger has never been a leader. When we look at the Steelers, when they were a good team, they had solid veteran leadership when they were winning those Super Bowls. Now they have Big Ben, and Big Ben is not a leader. Even with the Le'Veon situation, he came out and said a lot of things that caused a lot more friction when he could have just said, I'm focused on the guys in this locker room and we're focused on winning. I'd like to have everybody here, but I'm going to focus on what I can control. That's what a leader says. He doesn't cause more controversy, give more media quotes and sound bites. And that's the thing about Ben Roethlisberger. And that's what I feel leading to the destruction of the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they don't want to get rid of Big Ben. They want to keep him. He's throwing for 5,000 yards, getting 40 TDs. Sounds all good, but you guys can't even make the playoffs. You know what I mean? And this is kind of sad, this whole Antonio Brown story. It has turned into a scapegoat. Instead, we're talking about Antonio Brown and all the Steeler fans, and they're all hating on him, but they're not talking about why didn't you guys make the playoffs when you guys have all this talent, okay? Why, the Ravens made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. Big Ben is the better quarterback, right? But he can't help take your team to the playoffs with all this talent. And when we look at it, he has more talent in these skill positions than Tom Brady. Big Ben, caused a lot of friction, and then him and Antonio Brown have some very bad blood, and there's something going on for that bubble up to happen at that practice where, reportedly AB threw the ball at Ben Roethlisberger because he's mad about a route, something that Big Ben said about a route, but there are also rumors that Big Ben was trying to call out AB in meetings, and try to embarrass him and things of that nature. So there's things that led to this point where things are out of control. And we can look at it from a perspective of Emmanuel Sanders on the outside and saying, yeah, AB was doing this wrong, or he did this wrong, and or Tomlin let him get out of control, and he's taking advantage of his star player, benefits, maybe to a point, but it wasn't that bad these last several years, right? But when you start losing and when things get out of control, when Ben Roethlisberger is forcing the ball to Juju, trying to prove a point to Antonio Brown, like, I'm the quarterback here. I'm in control. I say if you get the ball or not. Now, I'm going to make Juju shine a little more than you. You know what I mean? I think AB kind of felt that Big Ben was really pressing the ball to Juju to kind of try to teach him a lesson, because they had a little friction during the whole season. You know what I mean? So there's things of that nature where it can cause that problem. And that's where we're at the point where, the Steelers need to let go of Antonio Brown. They need to trade him and let him move on. And, they need to keep Big Ben if they believe he's that guy. And, I don't see Big Ben getting no more Super Bowls in his career. But, Steeler fans, you may want to believe that. You know what I mean? And hopefully, you guys still have some talent to build around that. But when it comes down to it, Emmanuel Sanders is speaking on the outside of some of the things that he did know about the Steelers organization. But he didn't know all the inner workings of everything that's going on. He also spoke on Big Ben not being a leader. He also spoke on Big Ben calling out receivers on his radio show. And he said he wouldn't have liked that. And he said he would have talked to Big Ben if they had that issue. So you can see how those conflicts can, cause a problem, you know what I mean? And, Emmanuel Sanders is speaking on it. It's not always a good situation to speak on other locker rooms, even if you aren't in them anymore. He could have been like, hey, man, I'm not in Pittsburgh. I don't know what's going on. I know AB, I know them, and hope everything works out. But he wanted to go into it a little bit more. It seems like Emmanuel Sanders likes to speak on the Steelers, you know what I mean, all the time, not always in the best light because he's not there anymore, But, Antonio Brown, this situation is going crazy, man. People forgot about the Steelers not making the playoffs. We're not talking about the Steelers not making the playoffs. We're not talking about them underachieving. We're putting all the blame and all the attention on Antonio Brown. He's the hot topic. Let's throw him under the bus. He's the scapegoat for Big Ben and, the Steelers and Mike Tomlin not making the playoffs. You know what I mean? You have this veteran team with all this talent. It's like James Harrison said about Mike Tomlin. He's like, I don't think he's a great coach. I think he's a good coach, because great coaches can make great things with good players. He feels like the Steelers have had great players, but they haven't been able to get to that next level, which is very true. You look at the Steelers, Le'Veon Bell were best running backs in the game. Antonio Brown, one of the best receivers in the game. You know what I mean? Ben Roethlisberger, a top quarterback. Star defensive players. They've had a lot of talent, but they haven't been able to get to that next level. And I think leadership is a major thing. When we look at the Steelers, when they were really good and they were winning, it was a younger Ben, and they had star and solid veteran leadership. Whether it was Joey Porter, whether it was, it was Ryan Clark, or whether it was, James Harrison, whether it was, they had older leadership, you know what I mean? They had guys that could, Troy Polamalu, that can speak up, you know what I mean? Now it's like Big Ben can do certain things, and there's nobody that can really say anything to him when he's deflecting this blame, Hey, I didn't want to clock the ball. That was Todd Haley, and him and Todd Haley had all that friction. They got rid of Todd Haley. Remember that? You know what I mean? He has issues with a lot of people, and there's always a lot of blame why things aren't always working out. And I think Antonio Brown is that guy. Antonio Brown didn't do everything great this season with the way he handled things, but I think things got out of control, and things just bubbled over at that practice. And once it got to that breaking point, he wasn't ready just to come back in there and act like everything was okay, even though it's a team sport and you got a game and all that stuff. And we get that, but there's so many inner workings going on. Big Ben is doing a lot of things, and he's deflecting a lot of blame and putting pressure on everybody else but himself. And that's not what a leader does. That's not what an overall winner does. And for the Steelers to get back to being that team that they need to B, they need to have better leadership. And how they get that, I don't know, because I don't believe Big Ben is that leader to get them to that next level again. I don't. People, oh, he has Super Bowl rings. Yes, you can have Super Bowl rings and you have a solid defense, a solid running game, and you're getting it done. But has he gotten it done in the last 3, 4, 5 seasons? Has he? No, he hasn't. You know what I mean? So leadership is huge when we look at it. The Patriots, Tom Brady, you do not see Tom Brady calling out, hey, Gronk should have ran the route like this. Let me go on a radio show and call out this guy, call out that guy. Because there's no need for it. It's more destructive than it is productive. And that's not going to help your team. If you're a consummate team player, especially a leader, you're going to take that blame before you deflect it onto others. Big Ben is the opposite of that. He's, oh, this didn't happen because of this didn't happen because of this, oh, it's this player, it's that player. You know, so Big Ben is definitely also, you know, a problem in this situation. You know, Antonio Brown definitely, you know, didn't handle things the right way to a point, but things bubbled over. When you have tension and things bubble over, it gets to that level, and now it's to the point where he needs to move on, and he needs to be in a better situation where I think he's going to be a better player. He'll get along with his next quarterback and coach, and things will flow. But in Pittsburgh, that team is falling apart. You had the Le'Veon Bell thing. They should have paid him. If they had Le'Veon this season, I don't believe a lot of these things happen. You know what I mean? But they didn't pay Le'Veon. You go in there, James Conner does his thing, he plays well, but he gets injured. You know what I mean? Le'Veon Bell likely plays the whole season. It is what it is. Juju's a star. You know what I mean? We got Ben Roethlisberger, you know, forcing the ball at times. Juju making big plays, also making a big fumble mistake, but you're putting in a position so some of these things can't happen. You know what I mean? When you look at it, then the Steelers locker room, man, they're always tweaking and doing crazy things, you know, whether they're trying to go through Le'Veon's locker or, you know what I mean, they're talking about James Harrison when he wasn't mentoring them and all this stuff. They're always going to the media and are doing these weird things and trolling. It's kind of crazy that this locker room is so out of control from looking from the outside, but from the inside it's probably worse when you look at it. You know what I mean? When you really look at it, they voted Juju as a team MVP. Now, Juju had 7 touchdowns. Antonio Brown had 15 in 15 games, but you can tell there's a little bit of animosity there. You know what I mean? So they're going to vote Juju as, you know, the MVP, the number 2 receiver on the team, just to stick it to Antonio Brown a little bit, make him feel like we got you. You know, you're not all that. You know, you're not above us. You're not above the team or what have you. Because a lot of the players are going to side with the quarterback. Big Ben, not many people are going to talk against Big Ben in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? And I think that's the major thing with Antonio Brown. He feels that he should have more respect and more say and be able to, you know, make a stand against Big Ben when he does something wrong and not have to take that blame. But in Pittsburgh, you know, you got to take the blame. You know what I mean? Because Big Ben ain't taking no blame. You know what I mean? He sending it to everybody but his damn self. You know what I'm saying? So, man, this situation is crazy, man. Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, got that smoke, man. But at the end of the day, it's not that serious. I think it's a misunderstanding. It's something that they'll probably iron out later in time. But it's just a crazy situation. Everybody wants to speak on. All the media is trying to get these former players to speak on it. I thought James Harrison did a great job of speaking on certain things and also, you know, doing it from in a smart way, not, you know, throwing Antonio Brown under the bus. You know what I mean? But he was also speaking a lot of facts on how the Steelers do things and, you know, what could have led to these problems. Whether it's Mike Tomlin saying, I'm going to treat everybody the same, but I'm not going to treat everybody the same. The ballers, you know, you're going to have more leeway, and Antonio Brown had more leeway, and maybe he took advantage of that. But that's a lot of football teams are like that. If you play football, you already know there's star players that they have more slack. So Antonio Brown had more slack. And, you know, when things got bad or when he was getting frustrated, maybe he really took advantage of that slack and went too far and did certain things. But in the same sense, could things have been rectified or handled earlier? Could Big Ben had came to Antonio Brown and spoke to him as a man, like, let's iron this out. If we're going to go to the playoffs and we're going to be this great team, we can't have this tension. We can't have that because it's not going to work out. You can't have your number 1 receiver and a star quarterback having tension. You know, yeah, Big Ben can force the ball to Juju and keep throwing to Juju and run his stats up, and Juju's a star, but sooner or later you're going to need Antonio Brown. And we saw that, certain times in that last game where, they could have had Antonio Brown. It would have made a bigger difference. When we look at, the Steelers, they have a lot of talent, but you got to be able to, have leadership. You got to gel, you got to flow. That's why football is a consummate team sport. You know what I mean? You can't have one dude do everything. You got to flow. You got to gel as a team. That's why you're great. You look at the Patriots. They don't always have the best talent, but they gel and they play well together and they follow that game plan. You know what I mean? That's one thing you got to respect about them. Yeah, some people say they cheat. They probably do, but damn near every NFL team cheats in a way. You know what I mean? But overall, they don't have all the best talent and they can play, championship football. So when we look at the Steelers, we look at Emmanuel Sanders as a Bronco talking about that situation. He probably shouldn't have spoke on it, but he felt the need to speak on it, and maybe he shouldn't have went so in depth and put so much pressure on Antonio Brown, not knowing the full situation. You know what I mean? It's like Antonio Brown says, speaking on me, you don't even know what's going on, because it's like there's so much going on in Pittsburgh in that locker room that, you really don't know everything, and you don't know why he may have this reaction. So everybody in the media and the fans were jumping down his throat. Oh, you're a diva receiver. You're all about yourself. You're jealous of Juju. All this stuff. But it may be some of that, but that may not be all of that. And I think the issue is not Juju. I think the issue is Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben and Antonio Brown have a big problem. You know what I mean? And you can't beef with your starting quarterback, because the franchise is always going to pick the quarterback. So I expect the Steelers to make a move to trade Antonio Brown, and that's going to be the end of this. So you guys let me know what you guys think. Are you still one of those people jumping on Antonio Brown? Or are you on Emmanuel Sanders' side? Or are you on Big Ben's side? What do you think? What do you think the Steelers should do? What's the best team for Antonio Brown? You guys let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on my notifications. SDMT!